Hi, is that Fee?
This is Fee.
Fee, it's Mark from the Rockpit. How are you?
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi.
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, very good, thank you. I think we've got an interview scheduled for the next 15-20 minutes, if that's all good.
Yep, you're right on time. I just finished the one I was doing before you.
Excellent.
And perfect timing.
Okay, well, thanks very much for speaking to us today. It's a great honour. I actually got into the tubes when I was very young after hearing that first album, and the world's changed a lot since then.
Well, that's no shit, isn't it?
So it's the 40th anniversary of that fourth release, and you're actually hitting the some venues in the UK in August. Is it going to be good to get back?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's been well. We played London in 2012. I think was the last time we were there, but we didn't play any other cities. You know, it's been 10 years. I was figuring out. It's been 10 years since we played the Midlands and any place other than London. So when we put the tour together this year, everybody kept calling up the agent, going, "Well, what about us? What about Brighton? What about Bristol? What about Southampton? What about Wolverhampton?" I don't think we've ever played Wolverhampton. I can't remember, but
I think that's the closing date of the tour, isn't it? On the 13th, there you're in Bilston, which is
right.
An interesting place to go.
Yeah, I think it's the closing day of the UK tour. Yeah, I think we have one more date in Sweden before we come back. But yeah, my father's whole side is from England, and I've always had England has always been very close to us, and I mean, we broke out, back in 1977 when we first came to England, and we did the run at Hammersmith Odeon and recorded our live album. I mean, it's people, when we got back to the United States and we released this record, What Do You Want From Live, the live album, the fourth album, people thought, these are English guys. This must be an English band, because our first three albums didn't do anything here, and nobody ever heard of us. And then we came back from London, and all of a sudden now we're an English band, and so we were, we had a big hit. So
yeah, it's great. And what
are you going to do? Huh?
And you've also got a few dates in Germany and Holland, I think, as well as a sort of bit of a run there in the US, going through a few dates in California.
Right, we're going to do six German dates, or 5 German dates and 1 Dutch date. And before we get to the UK, so we should be well oiled by the time we get there.
What's it like playing live these days? I mean, back in the day, the Tubes were sort of well known for the number of people up on stage and the whole excess of the show. Right. I guess things have toned down and changed considerably in these sort of, well, not just these PC days, but the past.
Pretty much. It's funny. I left the band in 88 maybe. I just we had been on the road for 15 years straight, and I just couldn't take it anymore, and I didn't want to get into drugs like everybody else, and so we broke up, and I moved to LA, and then about 6 years later, the band had kind of fallen apart. Mike Cotton moved to New York, Bill got married, and his wife didn't want him to go out on tour, and the keyboard player committed suicide, so everything was different. And but strangely enough, we got an offer from Europe, from the UK, to do a big tour, and they said, if Fee will come back to the band, we want you to come and do this tour. And so we said okay, but we told the promoter guy, we said, look, it's not a big production anymore. Okay, it's just the band playing the songs. And he went, okay, and then hesitantly, and so we got back together, and that's what we did. We went over there and we just played, and we didn't do any production at all. No dancing girls, no costumes, no nothing. And people looked at us like we were out of our minds. and we're playing clubs, so you can see the people's faces. It's not like we went straight back to playing stadiums and stuff, and so I could just see in their faces. This is not why they came to see us, just to play the music. I mean, they love the music, but no, they want to see a show.
Yeah.
And that's why they came to see us in the first place. And so we kind of regrouped, and we said, well, look, we've got to find a happy medium. We can't go back to what we were doing, because the show in the old days, the big show, it cost every dime we made. Yeah. We made nothing. We made no money at all. We put everything into the show. We were such devout artists that we would not cut any corners. We would not save any money. No, it had to be the biggest and the best and the most outrageous thing you've ever seen. And so we thought, well, if we really just first of all, we didn't have the kind of draw that would allow us to put such a big show on the stage, which would cost a lot of money. And if they're not going to pay you, then you can't really do that, can you? And we hadn't had a record. This was 94, 95. We hadn't had a record in 10 years, 12 years. So the promoters are not going to offer you $50,000. And so we said, well, let's do what we can do. And that's what we did. That's kind of what we do now. We have a 5-man band, and I do about, maybe 8 or 10 costume changes during the show. And it's still a big show, but it's not like it was before.
No.
And we still do. I still do Quaalude with the big shoes, and I do, the game show host in What Do You Want from Life, and all those. I try to do probably too much, and make it interesting and enjoyable for everybody.
So where did it all originally come from? I mean, you burst onto the scene with this amazing sort of sense of creativity. A band, I guess, you originally from, I think, Arizona, moved to San Francisco, and was it that sort of culture shock, I guess, coming from Phoenix to San Francisco that just opened this whole new world, and you just needed to?
Yeah, I think there was a combination of of coming out of in Phoenix, you watch TV all day long when you're a kid because it's 150 outside, right? So you're sitting there and you're watching all the TV westerns, and you're watching all those sitcoms that were on TV back in the 50s, and so you get kind of this kind of skewed sense of entertainment, and it just and it was, for the most part, it kind of turns everything into sarcasm, pretty much, and that's kind of the thing we. And then when we got to San Francisco, we had a band with, I was a drama major. I wanted to be an actor. The drummer was an artist. He just painted all day long. And the keyboard player, Mike Cotton, he was a graphic designer. So he was just, building sets and drawing all these elevations and shit, And so from the very beginning, we didn't just, we wanted to incorporate all that talent. And so we would make our own big backdrop that Prairie would paint, and then we would build our own sets that Mike would design. And I would come up with weird costumes like, the demented cowboy that I grew up watching on TV, And so we took all of that and kind of all of that input, from our younger years, and we kind of just made it, satirized it. We made it a parody. We made it fun. We made it funny. We made it, kind of irreverent. We made it sarcastic as we could possibly make it.
And it worked. I was going to say, and it worked beautifully well, and I guess that's why the UK audiences, who I guess more used to sort of the satirical look at life, I guess, really took to it. Hey.
Well, they sure did. I mean, that was our big breakout when our manager, we hired this man. We had these lame ass managers, and we fired him. And we met this guy who was a Welshman. His name was Ricky Farr, and his father was European champion boxer Tommy Farr. And Ricky ran a sound and lights company, and he was really big. I mean, he did the sound and lights for Stevie Wonder and Rod Stewart, and all these big bands. And we hired him to do a show for us, and we kind of liked him, and there was something about him, and we said, would you be our manager? And we didn't have a manager, and he'd never managed a band before. He said, okay, he'd try anything. And the first thing he said was, well, I got to take you, as soon as he saw us play, he went, I got to take you guys to England right now. He said, man, they're going to love you. They like nothing more than, somebody to come and take the piss out of American politics or society and the culture. He said, this is going to be big time. And so that's what we did. I think it was 77 or 78, we went to England.
Yeah,
and
I think I saw.
And it just changed everything. And the English people loved us. We're on the cover of the damn newspaper and stuff. I was on the cover of the Financial Times once, only because I got arrested on Oxford Street. Which was another complete, a complete con job. Which the English love. We set this whole thing up just so the police would show up and they'd arrest me. And I said the right thing to get arrested. And the next morning we're on the cover of the Financial Times. Fee Waybill arrested for obstruction.
Obstruction. That's a good one. A good one for the rap sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite interesting when you look back on the sort of social commentary you were making back in those days. I mean, and it obviously carried on for a long time. To think, well, the actual world has sort of turned that way now. We've all sort of caught up. You surely couldn't have dreamed that how far we've gone downhill since the 70s, I guess. I mean, what's your take on things like political correctness and things like that?
Oh,
now?
I mean, you don't. Well, I don't know what your situation is, but if you know anything about our situation here with this Republican avalanche of candidates vying for the presidency in 2016, it's just a circus. It is a freak show. It's actually pretty funny, and with all these Republican guys trying to one up each other on voter rights or abortion or contraception or these issues that we thought we settled 35 years ago. And it's just a joke. It's a joke, and everybody knows it. Everybody in the people, all these politicians are posturing and going through all the motions, but I think the approval factor in the public for our politicians is about is less than 20%.
Yeah, as low as it could be.
So it's a joke. It's a fucking joke every day. And now with all this police harassment of black people, and so that's in the news every day. And oh my God, it's just a complete. The thing is just hell in a handbasket, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. I think the good thing about the 70s is that all these topics were still out there, but we could debate them, whereas these days, it's you take your side and you just abuse each other. There's no... the debate's gone. There's no... And they were just talking about it the other day. We have, I think there's 16 or 17 guys, and one woman, running for the Republican nomination, right? And they're supposed to have these debates. They're going to debate all the policies and all the talking points. But there's too many guys. The stage isn't big enough for 16 podiums, And so now they're letting the news, Fox News, which is about as right-wing, neoconservative, not even neoconservative, super conservative as it gets. And they decided, well, we're gonna only let 10 of you on. We're gonna decide what 10 Why don't they just go all the way and just have a game show?
Right, there you go. Let's have a game show. Whoever can answer the most questions wins.
And
That's it, you're president.
We'll get you up there to compare it.
Right. I mean, it's just insane. And there's, I go off, it's funny, and because sometimes during our show, when we're playing clubs around the USA, I just go off completely and go into this rant, about, I don't know, whatever it happens to be that night. But it's just, I mean, not in a mean way, in a sarcastic way, in a satirical way. And people think it's hilarious, and it's just it's a big comedy routine. So that's kind of what it's turned into. It's a comedy show. It's a bunch of stand-ups, trying to one-up each other.
It's harder and harder to satirize things, though, isn't it, when they get to that level? Because they're all...
exactly, because... right. It is, because it's too real. It's too... They don't get it. They don't get the satirical part of it. They're too...
Yeah, I've actually just got back from the US, so I sort of enjoying myself out there in California, and I was so upset though. I got back last week, and then I realised you were playing Fremont Street tomorrow. Must be tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, that should be cool. It's always good to see.
But it's not the real. It's not the real tubes. I don't know if you're going to plan to see us in England or what city you're nearest. But the Fremont, you can't. Vegas is a joke. You can't. Like if I say 4-letter word in Vegas, if I say fuck, they won't pay us. Or, I mean, I remember the first time we played Vegas. The first time we played Vegas, we played at the Sahara Hotel, and we had the big production. And back then, in the late 70s, our dancing girls were topless, right? And I mean, that didn't last for very long before nobody would let us get away with that. Like we got banned in Portsmouth, but we got banned from Vegas, where the whole place, every casino's got topless girls, everyone, except when we did it, they went, oh no, this is, and it was a casino gig. It wasn't all audience. It was a casino, and they said, no, well, you're done. They banned us from Vegas for tits. And so this show, we're doing this tour, Rock of the 80s tour, with a number of different 80s bands. There's like, the show tomorrow is Motels and Us and Smithereens, and then sometimes it's Romantic, sometimes it's Berlin. There's like a little group of 80s bands that they do this tour with, and
you're not going to be doing Monkey Time with Martha, are you?
No, I don't really like it. I mean, it's a big money thing, but we're only going to play 50 minutes, and we can't do anything weird. We can't do the tube show. I can't do Quaalude with a big dildo in my pants. I can't. Nothing weird at all. There's nothing weird at all. Don't touch your genitals.
Cool.
So we're going to play our 50 minutes, and we just blast through it pretty much without stopping. There's no comedy. There's no rant. There's no me going off on some, obscure topic. No. You just bam, bam, bam. You're done. You're on to the next band.
That's no good for me.
So,
taking you all the way back, What Do You Want for Life? One of my favourite Tube songs, I think. I mean, I was listening to that when I was like 12 years old, and the downside of that was for my entire life I've always wanted a Winnebago and a Gucci shoe tree.
I heard of Winnebago. I know, and that song probably epitomizes what I was talking about of us growing up in Arizona, watching commercials with Cal Worthington trying to sell Winnebagos, or somebody trying to sell a microwave, or Jack LaLanne trying to sell Dynagym. All these bullshit TV products.
I'll tell you what, though, I have got a Gucci shoe tree now, and it is fantastic. I found one in a thrift store while I was over there.
Perfect. Gucci shoe tree. Okay.
So that one works.
Well, there you go.
That one works for me. It must be so hard with such a great body of work, but can can you sort of highlight a few favourite moments from your career?
What, in the studio, you mean, or?
Well, I mean, my favourite album
or?
was probably Remote Control. I think out of them all. But is it?
That's
it?
Your favorite?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I love obviously the first album. I love the live stuff, but I think Remote Control was the one that was particularly interesting, especially lyrically.
And the funny thing about that was that was total. I mean, I don't want to say plagiarism, but the whole idea. I came up with the concept for that, and it was based on this book by Jerzy Kosinski called Being There. Right. It was about the boy who grew up watching TV and had no real sense of experience, just virtual experience. And I put together this whole thing, this whole concept piece with all these song titles, and I thought, well, this is obscure as shit. Nobody's going to figure this out. You know, that nobody knows who the fuck Jerzy Kosinski is. Although he did have a big book called The Painted Bird, which was a big hit. And so we do this whole thing, this whole project, and design a whole tour around it. And we've got TVs everywhere. And then the next thing I hear is, oh, they're going to make a movie of it. It's going to be a Peter Sellers movie called Being There. And I just went, oh, fuck, you must be kidding me. I'm busted. We are so busted, you know. And but interestingly enough, nobody ever really connected it, you know.
No.
They really never came to me and went, oh yeah, that's a plagiarized idea. Here, you took that from the book.
Of course.
And I mean, we twisted it so much from the actual book. I mean, it was pretty twisted compared to what the book, you know, portrayed.
I mean, you sort of can't hide these things, I guess, now in the day of the internet. I mean, everyone's going to eventually find out your secrets.
No shit, you'd never get away with it today. That's for sure. You can't, you know. I thought, here's this obscure book that nobody ever heard of, and then next thing you know, it's a movie. But, you know, I think for myself, my favorite album is Completion Backward Principle, the next album after.
Yeah. That was cool.
After Remote Control.
Yeah.
And working with David Foster, and I was not a big, to be honest, you know, I liked Todd, but I wasn't a big fan of his style, and he was under a lot of pressure. You know, we whipped that album out in about a month. He was under a lot of pressure because the record company put a lot of pressure on him because they, you know, this was our 5th album at A&M, and we still hadn't sold any records for him. And it was getting to be weird, and so they said, well, you've only got this much money, you know, we need this in, you know, you got a month.
Yeah.
And we pretty much wrote those songs like TV is King.
Yeah.
We wrote it and played it in the same day.
Wow. And I guess that was the catalyst for I guess what some people would see as the big comeback, Outside Inside, and the whole sort of She's a Beauty, which you couldn't get away from that video at one point in time. I guess in those days.
Well, yeah.
I
mean, it was such a change to go from Todd just, you know, having to just settle, you know, and then going to David Foster, who wouldn't settle for anything. I mean, Foster was a perfectionist with a capital P. And, you know, I remember the first vocal I did for David Foster, the first lead vocal took me like 2 days, took me 8 hours to get it to his satisfaction. Whereas, you know, with Remote Control, Todd, you know, I'd sing it twice, and then he'd go, okay, well, let's double it, and then, okay, great, on to the next, you know. So he made me a better singer, and he made everybody a better player, and I thought we made a great record, and
I mean,
you know,
I've always thought the music was pretty outstanding. I mean, was it the fact that there were just so many people with so many diverse influences that led to that mix? Where did it all come from, the sound? Because you sort of span so many genres, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's everything.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, that's a blessing and a curse, I think, at the same time, because I used to think that. I went, God, we've got so many different kinds of music on this record. You know, nobody can put us in a niche. You know, here they got Bon Jovi all tucked away in a niche. Every song sounds the same, and you know, he's making a fortune. You know, and we're struggling with this big show, and this different. You know, somebody wanted to do an R&B song, and you know, Vince Welnick, the keyboard player, was classically trained. That's how, before rock and roll, all he played was classical. He played Beethoven and shit all day long, you know. And you know, Mike Cotton wasn't really a player at all. He was just, he was all about the beat and the sound and this, and we had all these influences, you know. Bill Spooner was a blues player. He was a blues guitar player. And Roger Steen was like a, you know, Jimi Hendrix wannabe player. You know, he was like all over the place. He was a psychedelic world, you know. And so we had all these, you know, influences, everything. It was all, and we all just kind of battled it out, you know. That's you know, was amongst the major challenges of the various producers we had, because for the first 5 albums, we had 5 different producers. We didn't have anybody who wanted to come back. You know, we had one guy run away in the middle of the record. On the Now album, John Anthony ran away, went back to England. The record was halfway done. I can't take this anymore. I'm fucking out of here.
It's quite interesting though, because when you listen to the music now, I mean, sometimes you put on an album and you think, oh god, that's dated horribly. There's a certain production, there's a certain sound. But I mean, I found listening to I've been playing a bit of vinyl over the last few days and playing some of the Tube songs, and you think, well, this hasn't really dated because it's still quite strange. Is that?
Yeah. Well, I think that what that is a product of is analog. You know, nothing. You couldn't fix anything. You know, you had that warm sound. You couldn't. It wasn't. You know, with digital, not only do you lose that, but it becomes too sterile. You can fix everything. Everything can be perfect, and you can do it in no time flat with a computer. And back then, you had to be able to play it. And you had to be, you know, if Foster didn't think you played it right, you had to play it again, and then play it again, and play it again. And you know, I couldn't fly in vocals. You know, I had to sing it all, every note. And it just, I think that method stands up, is stronger than, you know, records you hear today. That, I mean, except for the Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters are my favorite band, and they don't do that. They don't. No digital shit anywhere at a Foo Fighters record. And I actually sang on their last record before that.
Okay.
Because Dave, a friend of mine, sang background vocals on a Foo. That's my claim to fame. Fuck. I sang background vocals on a Foo Fighters song.
I found out something very interesting about you as well that I never knew, and this is actually due to Wikipedia, which I never trust, that you had that writing partnership with Richard Marx.
Oh, yeah.
And you wrote...
Richard Marx is my best friend. I've known him for 35 years.
Edge of a Broken Heart. Which is...
What?
And you wrote Edge of a Broken Heart by Vixen. Which is...
That's right.
It's one of my wife's favourite songs, strangely enough. So, it's...
I wrote songs on... he and I have written a lot of songs together over the years. I've written songs on all of his records. I've had three or four hits with him, those songs that I wrote over the years, and it's just, you know, it's not, obviously, you know, I met him in a studio with David Foster on one of those days where everybody was having a hard time, you know, being perfect quite so perfect, and your amp sounded like shit. Everybody was bitching out everybody else, and Richard had come to L.A. because he had placed a song in a Lionel Richie record, and that he wrote, and then Lionel, he said, I want to meet David Foster, and Lionel said, oh, well, they knew each other, obviously, and he said, yeah, he's doing the tubes, he's over at Lionshare, the name of the studio. So Richard showed up at the studio, and Lionel set it up for him, so Foster knew he was coming, and so he just sat in the studio, over in the corner in the dark, didn't say a word, and listened to us bitch each other out all day long, trying to get some part right. And at one point, the guitar player, who was really hungover and pissed off, sees this stranger sitting in the back of the studio and freaks out. Goes, who the fuck is this guy? Where's this guy hanging around over, listening to our conversation? This is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. He just completely lost it, right? And I stepped up and said, hey, dude, just play your fucking part, okay? Don't worry about the kid. He's not doing anything. Just play your part and let's get the fuck out of here, okay? I hate the fucking studio. I don't like it. I'd much rather be live on stage, and if you fuck up, it's done.
It's done. It's over. Yeah.
It's done. You're on to the next. And so we became friends that day after the studio. He goes, oh, thanks a lot for standing up for me. And I said, yeah, no problem. And he goes, could we write a song together maybe? And I went, really? And he went, yeah, I think your lyrics are really cool. And so we started writing, and that was like 1980, and we started writing songs for mostly a couple of my solo records, and mostly all his records, and so yeah, we're still friends. We're still best friends. He lives here in California now. He got a divorce and left Chicago and moved to Malibu.
Oh wow, Malibu, very nice.
He lives out on the beach now. He's got a nice little place, and I go out and we hang and play with the dog.
Cool.
But I was going to say, it's a different guy. It's a different guy because that writes those songs with Richard about nothing left behind us and too late to say goodbye and chains around my heart. I mean, obviously, that's not the guy that's writing What Do You Want From Life and Talk to You Later.
No.
So I kind of, it's kind of, like I don't wear my platform boots at home. I'm a different guy here in Venice Beach. Everything's pretty cool. I'm not going to freak out. Not going to.
I'm glad to hear that.
When I go out on the road with the tubes, I become this insane, freaked out weirdo.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking the extra time. I've just got a couple of quick questions, if that's okay, to close with. One of the things I've always wondered, a biography. Is that something that's ever come on your radar?
Yes. Actually, yes. I actually have been thinking about it, and it's awfully daunting. But I have thought about it. I thought about how to do it. I haven't actually got a guy at an agency here called UTA in Los Angeles, a literary agent, who has taken me on, and about a year ago I was almost ready to do it, and then I started writing a book of poetry. Once again, not the crazy guy, the normal guy sitting at home writing poetry, and so I wrote a book of poetry, and I kind of liked it, and it was interesting, and it's hard to write about yourself. I can tell stories all day long, but I don't know. At some point, he suggested I do a one-man show at some point that's like a biographical one-man show and I've talked to people about doing that, and Kenny Ortega, the guy who used to be our choreographer, he's pretty big time now, and he's directing movies and has a big production company, and we've talked about it and about how it would go, but I don't know, it's on the radar, let's put it that way.
It's pretty daunting.
I'll get to it at some point.
Any chance of any new Tubes music?
Well, probably not.
Okay.
We actually do or 6 songs that over the years that we've written and produced and recorded, and but you know, it's there's no money. You know, no record company is going to give us money to release a record. I mean, we could do it ourselves, but we kind of, you know, it's hard to kind of, you know, like somebody goes, oh, why don't you do Kickstarter? No, I'm completely against Kickstarter. Asking people to give you money, you know, it's just, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right to me.
At least he goes to the band. I've got an easy one to close with, Fee, if that's okay.
Okay.
What is the meaning of life?
Oh. You want the Spam-A-Lot answer? You know, I did.
As long as you don't say a baby's arm holding an apple.
Right. No, I did Spam-A-Lot at a summer stock theater a couple years ago. I played King Arthur, and then I got to meet Eric Idle like the week after it, you know, and I just went nuts. You know, I just went, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that was ever written. You know, this is the greatest, funniest play I've ever. And I've done Rocky Horror Show about 1 million times at this summer stock theater, and I've done other plays, and every other year or so I take the summer off and I go do theater, and God, Spam-A-Lot is just the most classic of all time. But I don't know. I think that everybody's meaning, obviously, everybody's meaning of life is different. For me, I kind of figured out many years ago, when before any fame or rock and roll or anything like that, when I was a hippie living in the mountains, you know, smoking pot all day long and throwing the I Ching, right?
Yeah.
So I asked myself that in the I Ching, what is my purpose in this life? And the I Ching told me what it was, and I have tried to do that, and that's kind of what I do on stage. Is my purpose is to bring joy to other people. That's my purpose.
That's as good as.
And so,
yeah.
that's what I do, and that's when I, you know, in most, you know, it's easiest to do on stage because you're there and they love you and you're singing, you know, the song they grew up with or something like that, and you can just see the joy in their eyes bubbling over, and then I feel fulfilled. And it's much harder to do in day to day when you're driving around on the fucking freeway of LA, you know, and or you're trying to deal with some bonehead that, you know, I actually have a day job. I run a business with my ex. I manage 1 million square feet of commercial property.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a property manager. So I have to go deal with these people at these office buildings that we manage. And, man, it's brutal. It's just brutal. And it's really, it really tests my endurance to perseverance to bring joy to any of these fucking boneheads, I'll tell you. It's really tough.
Cool.
But, you know, I have released, I play polo, you know, which is a very English sport.
Oh, wow.
I've been playing polo for about 15 years, and I own 5 horses, and I play twice a week at our little polo club here in Los Angeles, and it's just so great. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like drugs. It's like coming home from a hard day's work and smoking pot or taking that massive cocktail, but no, you go get on your horse and play polo, and it's just so great. It's one of the greatest sports ever invented. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
You know, you deal with what you have to deal with, and then hopefully you get a little release, and then you can refocus and get back to the plan. Hi, everybody. This is Fee Waybill from the Tubes, and you lucky people are listening to the Rockpit.
That's so cool. Thank you so much, Fee, and thank you so much for taking so much time with us. It's been an absolute pleasure.